Okay, thank you again for having me. So the name of this talk is Scala Microservices. It's the biggest tech company you've probably never heard of. So it's about Zalando. And how many people have heard of the company Zalando before you read about this talk? Can you? 1, 2, 3? Oh, 3 people? 4? All right, so most of you didn't, and this is also my experience when talking to Americans, especially because we're a European company. And today I want to talk to you about what Zalando does and how it comes that we do microservices and why we are using Scala and how we're using it. This is me. Hopefully I'm still looking like in that picture. I'm a delivery lead at Zalando. That basically means I overlook 5 teams now, like a technical lead, not a people lead. My department is brand solutions, and we are basically doing the B2B side of Zalando, so where all people put their products in and cater for the brands like Adidas, Nike, and so on. And I'm at Zalando since 2010.
Picture from the catalog?
Excuse me?
Is the picture from Zalando catalog?
We could put it in, you think? We actually had recently, we had like 5 people from Zalando in the catalog. Actually, I was not too fancy, apparently, so they chose other ones, but maybe next round, I don't know. Yeah, so that's about me. So when I joined the company, actually, it was founded in 2008 only. So we are now 7 years old. I don't know if it still counts as a startup. Probably not if you see the size. So those 2 people, Robert and David, founded in 2008. I joined in 2010. It was about 140 people back then. So very, very startup-y, definitely. I was hired as a PHP engineer back in the day, and you can see we've come a long way. Now I'm doing Scala and giving a talk about it. So so what does Zalando actually do? So we are a fashion e-commerce company. When you think of Zappos here in the US, something similar for Europe. We're basically, you can shop clothing, shoes, and so on with us. And we're currently, our biggest challenge is we're going from a traditional we buy clothing model to we become a platform so other people can sell their stuff on our platform. So this is really a big thing for us because we need to open up everything, the whole platform, to allow other people to use this. So, as I said, 7 years, but in that time we've grown fairly quickly, and it's very big, as you can see in those numbers. We ship to 15 countries in Europe, so that's probably why most Americans don't know us. We only cater for the European market. 60 million customers, 8,000 employees, and or 9,000 even. It's hard to keep up with the numbers. So in tech we are right now about 800 people, and we have big plans in growing to 2,000 engineers in the next year. Just because of this platform thing I mentioned, it's a big undertaking and we need a lot of people. Yeah, last year we went to stock market as well, so probably doesn't count as startup anymore. Here a few numbers about our tech development. As I said, 2010 when I started, we're still using Magento. I don't know how many people know that. I guess it was a good way to start because when you start a startup, you never know if it will be successful or not. So we took something out of the box like Magento, but even in 2010 it didn't scale anymore. So we patched and patched and patched, and it couldn't keep up with our growth. So in 2010 we did a big rewrite. In 3.5 months we rewrote everything to a Java stack. This really completely threw the old thing away and replaced it with a new, something you probably only can do when you're a very young company still. And in the next years, up to this year, we were massively growing with this stack. But then we saw basically we keep adding more engineers, and it didn't really, the pace didn't keep up in the same way. That was kind of a problem. So to get these 2,000 people, we also scale out a bit more into Europe. So we are basically Berlin-based originally. We opened up tech hubs in Dortmund, my hometown of Mönchengladbach, Erfurt, and now also Dublin and Helsinki. So we're kind of growing internationally as well. So Dublin is our fashion insight center, lots of data science stuff going on. I guess they're trying to figure out how to find out if a page on the internet is talking about fashion and mapping that to the fashion domain and things like this. Helsinki is our mobile hub. I said just adding people didn't scale up the amount of innovation we had. So adding more people added more complexity, and that's why we started this year actually, only in March or April, I'm not completely sure, and revamped our complete model how we do IT. And that's where it starts to become interesting from a Scala perspective, because instead of this classical hierarchical model, we turned around the whole tech organization and basically made our teams autonomous. So we don't have this top-down model anymore where you have like a team lead who's saying what you have to do, but the teams are basically the top-class entity in our organization, and they can choose which technology they want to use for their stuff, how they want to work together and so on. So that's where we started to open up our old fixed tech stack, only Java and only Postgres with stored procedures, which was even back in the day not very modern and innovative, but it worked well enough. Yeah. I wrote a lot of SQL code in my time, I have to say. Yeah, these are the three pillars. I don't know, some of you might know the book Drive by Daniel Pink, so it's based on this. We believe that people need to know the purpose of what they're doing, then they have like a motivation to actually do their best. And they need mastery to do that, so we actually investing a lot of time into that, into bringing people, making people good in that, what they're doing and I want to do. And of course autonomy, as I said, teams can choose their stuff they want to work in, and that fits the purpose the best. So this was basically the starting position in the beginning of this year, where we actually looked into other technologies and opened up our whole stack, and were actually able to look left and right. What other things are there besides Java and the stuff we know? Sorry. Whoops, something. My headline is split up. It's just rules of play. We also, so we have autonomy now, great. Everyone can do whatever they want, so that's also a recipe for catastrophe. So you have to have some rules of play to, so not everyone runs around and does weird stuff. So you have to have some contract on what we're doing, right? So basically, everything we are doing in the future, every piece of software we are writing in the future needs to stick to these rules of play, basically. And that's where the microservices come in. So previously we have, yeah, monoliths, you can say that. There's a lot of Java monoliths talking with SOAP to each other. And the worst offender in this case is our shop, so the thing that the customers see when they type in Zalando DE or Zalando Co UK or something. The shop team, all in all, is like 80 people, and they're working on a single code base, and can imagine that really slowed down development, and innovation, and yeah, frustration got bigger in the developers. So basically, what we're saying right now, what everyone is saying probably, a way to go for us definitely is to go the microservice route. So build single services that do one thing and one thing right, and that are loosely coupled. But to speak the same language, we stick to REST APIs, and we have even a more strict approach to that. We have REST APIs, but we also API first. That means before you even start writing your microservice, you basically have to line out what the API looks like. So we chose Swagger. I don't know, you probably have heard of Swagger. It's a format on which you can describe your API, so which entities, which endpoints. So our developers are asked to write a Swagger document first, how the service will look like. We have a little API guild of more seasoned developers who take a look, and the goal is basically that every REST API we have should look as if the same developer has designed it. So not like a wild variety of APIs, but really something that looks the same. This is really the only point where we are very strict. And then behind what's going on behind your API, that's up to you basically. And the software as a service principle just means you should write every microservice, or every service you write should be thought of as you can give it out to any third party to use it, basically. So that means we don't have internal servers anymore. By definition, every single service sits there on the internet with the REST interface. And the only thing that prevents people from using it is our OAuth authentication, which then handles all the scopes and so on. And yeah, last thing, we are coming from a very traditional data center. We have 2 data centers right now where all the legacy stuff is going. But to enable the teams to actually write their own stuff and be innovative, we gave every single team an AWS, their own AWS account, so they're end-to-end responsible for all the stuff they write. So basically, programming it, no QA, they have to do it themselves, they have to run it, they have to operate it. If it breaks in the middle of the night, they are being responsible for fixing it. So this is a high motivation for everyone to invest in their quality and so on. So that made it actually possible for every team to choose their stack they want to develop in. So that doesn't mean we're going all Scala now, but actually a large part. And since it's kind of hard to get an oversight right now, because right now it's really starting to run off. People start to run off and write new things. So it's really hard to grasp which teams are actually doing Scala, which teams are using what technology. So I set up a survey and sent it around in our Scala guild to actually figure out which teams are actually using Scala. So and you see basically the results. So first of all, 40% of all our engineers have pointed out they want to learn Scala as part of their tour of mastery. So there's a high demand, high interest in our developers that actually want to learn Scala. And for that we have like 4 certified trainers, Typesafe certified trainers, who can do internally the Scala and Play workshops. So I'm one of them. And right now we have already over 12 teams that are developing their microservices, or the new services, all in Scala, and mostly Play. So I guess few of them are using Spray.io, but most of them are using Play for their REST services. So that counts like for over 40 engineers already, and we have only started quite recently, as you see. So I won't be able to tell you any kind of like battle stories about what you should do, what went wrong. So we're right in the lift-off phase. So I've listened to a talk from Guild The other day, they are basically like 2 years ahead. They have already 280 microservices and everything is running. But I think an exciting time has started at Zalando. So basically now you can feel all the innovation that's coming out. People are just eager to try out new stuff, and now Scala is one of the hot topics right now in the company. And what we've already seen is that at least the code base of our microservices that are already developed is like Scala microservices are 30% of code of all the other services you would see in Java, for example. And it plays very well with all the legacy stuff. We have all kinds of Java libraries. There's Java SOAP clients. We unfortunately need to speak to the legacy services still until we've gotten full AWS and full microservice, but now it plays very well along, and people are very excited to go that way. So that was already almost it. So we have here a few example applications that are using already Scala. A home merchant center. That's basically my teams that are doing that. It's a search center where where people can log in to put their products onto our platform. And there's already a couple of services all written in Scala, and they use Spray. I couldn't talk them into doing Play. I don't know why. We have fraud analysis, a web analytics tool. Fraud analysis uses Spark, by the way, and A/B testing tool, payment services. So a broad variety of all kind of backend and front-end services that are currently in the way of being developed in Scala, actually. So, and from those things, only 2 are actually in production. The rest is currently in the make, so to say. So very exciting times ahead for me, at least as Scala fanatic. No, I won't say I like Scala very much. And one thing I want to mention, this is an initiative that we started together with Typesafe. I mentioned the API first approach before, so that means, as I said, every team has to write for each service an API document, a Swagger document before they start doing it. And we are currently developing a library, so 2 developers in-house are doing that, and together with James Roper, the tech lead for the Play Framework, like a Play library, which basically consumes this Swagger definition and generates all the stuff you need, like the controllers, the router, even case classes that you need for the resources for you. And you can already see it on GitHub. It's in a prototype phase right now. I wouldn't use it in production yet, but you can of course use it. And oh, there's some police to arrest me or what? I'm guilty at liking Scala. So check it out on GitHub. So we're also big on open source right now. We have lots of stuff on GitHub, and one of them is our Play Swagger library. So if you use Swagger or are interested in the API first approach, give it a try, give feedback to some of our developers. Question?
Yeah, is that like a build step generator Play stuff, or is it a runtime thing?
Please repeat the question.
Okay. I think your question was if it's a runtime thing or is it a generator for your code?
Yeah, like an SPT plugin or...
Yeah. So basically it's not runtime, it generates stuff for you, but it generates it in a way that that it won't override your existing implementation. So it basically generates traits, and the routing file and stuff you add to it won't be destroyed, so you can rerun it if you change your Swagger file. So it's no runtime magic, because that is way more complicated. Okay, that was it, or it was already it for my short talk. Thank you, Google. So I'll be around for more questions. We can do a little question round, but I will be around together with Volker and Laurie. So Laurie is also American. You can talk American English with her. not weird German English like with me. Follow us on our tech page. We have a blog with kind of interesting topics that come up all the time. Twitter and of course our GitHub page. And yeah, are any other questions around here? Yes.
My question is that since you change the stack to microservices, also like API first, do you feel the main benefit of changing to the stack is coming from Scala, or it's coming from the REST API, or those first API first thing?
So I mean so if I understand it correctly, if the main drive to change comes from switching to Scala, or from?
No, my question is, where do you see the benefit come from? It's mainly from changing to the program language from Java to Scala, or it's the Play, or it's coming from the switching to the microservices or REST API first.
Yeah, so the main benefit for the company is definitely switch to the microservice approach, because for that we make our development process we decouple it basically. It's not like a shop team with 80 people. Somebody has to wait for someone else in this monolith to fix stuff before we can deploy. We can have individual components, and Scala is only a nice benefit for us, because if people like the language and are more productive in it, I can choose it and be more productive in building the microservice. But really the main point or the main benefit for us is definitely this move to microservices.
So question, for the microservices, do you guys handle like the authorization?
Yes, we basically as I mentioned, we have OAuth 2. Every service needs to accept OAuth 2 tokens, and we have, if you know ForgeRock, this is an old Sun authentication open source thing that was now, there's now a company called ForgeRock.
For authentication, right? For authorization, I'm saying like, so for like this person, he has the access, like we need to decide like what type of data this person has access to.
Yeah, with that authorization, so with that token, basically comes also the scope of what that person or this service or this can access. So basically, with that scope paradigm, we are securing our endpoints, and only people with the right token that has the scopes to access this resource can basically do it. And in case there's a customer and gets an OAuth token, we just pass it on to the other down the line. So we act on behalf of that customer then. I don't know who was first, so we have three. Okay, maybe you, and then you, and then you.
Yeah, how do you manage your deployment, and how do you manage multiple versions of these microservices within that deployment?
So the question was about how we manage the deployment and multiple versions. So we have, as I said, every team has their own AWS account, so every team deploys, and we have written like a little tool set around our deployment. It's called stops.io. You can look it up. It's basically our deployment artifact is a Docker container. So basically, when you build something and you pack it in a Docker container, we wrote our own Docker registry that doesn't allow to overwrite versions like the original Docker registry. So basically, that thing is then versioned, and you tell our tooling to deploy this version of the Docker image to AWS. And basically, we have a mechanism that does like blue-green deployments, basically. So you deploy a new version. It's in the load balancer, but has 0% of the traffic, so you can do like smoke checking and so on, smoke tests on it. And if, or maybe even route 10% traffic to it to see if any errors come up, and then switch all the traffic to the new version. And if you need to do rollback, you can do the same thing in reverse again.
So at any given time, there's only one version of that microservice that is composed?
Yes. So of course, when you deploy, you can gradually switch, and then you have always two versions somehow running, but only one is in the end getting the traffic. But you can roll back and also deploy new versions. But at any given time, there should be only one version running. So this guy first, yeah.
From monolith to microservice, usually quite painful process. And my question is, how long it take to finish that process? Do you still have code running in the monolith? And the other question would be, do you handle specially for transaction integration?
That's a good question. So first of all, how long will it take to switch? This is kind of yeah. I don't know. I'm not like can read the future, but we hope that we at least can move to AWS within 2 or 3 years. That could also mean we just move our legacy systems into the cloud. That doesn't mean we already finished like splitting up into microservices. I think this also depends. I think our approach right now is to have new things as microservices first. The only exceptions are shop, as I mentioned. This is a really big one, and for that we're doing a rewrite. So basically, we'll pause the feature development for that, and then big effort. But for the rest of it, it's more a gradual process. So new features will go over, and if there's major changes in the legacy code, then they will probably also put up a new microservice. So it will be like a gradual change, not like a big bang. So now everything is moved to microservices. And the other one was transactional handling, right? So I don't know that yet, but I think transactional, you can do transaction over microservices very well. You have to, that would be like hard thing to do. So you basically have to take care of it in your application and your client. That when you see that there's some error it will be like a rollback mechanism. So there's no fancy JEE thing or so transaction over services. But yeah, I don't know yet. We are not there yet where we would face a problem that could be solved with transaction handling. But yeah, as far as I know now, you have to basically know that there is no transaction handling over server calls and do the failure case yourself. And here's, yeah.
Expanding on what this gentleman was asking before, so with regard to data, how segregated is your data across the microservices? And do you find that some time when you upgrade one microservice, you morph some data, or you step over the toes of another microservice?
It's also a question. So basically, the question was about terms of data. That some microservices might touch the same data, and then we have it in two places. If I understood correctly. It's also a bit early to answer that for me because currently all the data is still in the legacy services. But my idea would be that it's as soon as you should cut your microservices really on resource level, that each microservices caters for one resource, and if you might have something duplicate, I don't know yet, but I think yeah, it's if you keep your microservices really dumbed down and resource for resource, then hopefully you won't have too much problems. But I haven't been there yet, so I can't really give advice on that yet.
That's where the devil is.
So
that's where the devil is.
Okay, so I'll look out for that, and next year I come back and say why we don't do microservices anymore at Zalando.
When you break up your larger system into smaller services, did you find that you had common boilerplate? And if you do you have like an internal library that shares across all these services, or you just have people repeat patterns across the services?
Of course. So when, for example, at least for example, the OAuth stuff is something that you will need in every service. So of course, one principle we have is when we have shared code between libraries or between services, we need to cut it out and make it open source. So basically, you have a very high visibility of that thing, and of course there will be, I guess there will be a lot of libraries coming out of this process to basically cater for the boilerplate stuff. So Play Framework handles a lot of it, for example, but something like authentication or some stuff for a deployment process, like logging integration with, I think we're using log entries or on URL against, and so this stuff is in every microservice, and we will probably like figure out one library that will be on GitHub then. All right, no other hands open. Then I would thank you for the invitation and for listening to me, and then we'll listen to Conrad next.